Hello and welcome to English for Grade 7. This is an online program from your school with me here, Daniel. I hope everybody is fine at home. Could be a bit of a challenge, could be lame or boring, but still, you are safe and sound. Okay, so for today, please open your student book to Unit 9, page number 40. The title of Unit 9 is In the Land of Pyramids. Okay, the Land of the Pyramids. It's page number 40, and you're supposed to focus on the exercises in this page. So we're going to look at the first part of our today's program, which is leading introduction or warm up. Okay, exercise number 1. Look at the exercise 1 and read the title of exercise. Who are the people in the picture? The question. And where are they? What is this place famous for? Okay, the place, everybody knows about the pyramids. The pyramids are large buildings with square base that slopes on the sides to the top point, and these huge buildings are in Egypt. Egypt is famous for the pyramids, for the Sphinx, the statue of human head on the body of a lion, and also for the Nile River. Okay, so places in Egypt. And probably the people who sit there, you can see the woman is queen with a golden dress, and the other one probably is companion, not a king. Okay, let's go to exercise number 2. The exercise number 2, you're supposed to look at the sentences below. You are presented with a number of sentences from A to number F. Okay, look at the sentences below and try to put them in the correct chronological order. Chronological order or chronology means the order in time that things happen, means put them in the order. So here chronological order means put them in order on the basis of time. Which one happened first and later and the next. Okay, put them in order and then listen to the tape and check your answers. Okay, so you have about maybe 3-4 minutes. Look at items from 1A to the last one F. Read them and put them in the correct order or chronological order. I'm going to read and focus on the grammar or vocabulary of this. The professor told Anthony about traveling through time. The first sentence is this. And the second one, B. The professor saw Antony and Cleopatra riding in chariots. Chariot is a vehicle that is drawn by a horse. It could be 4-wheel, could be 2-wheel. And the next one, C. The guards took the professor to the royal palace. Okay, understandable. We don't have any particular or interesting grammar here, but let's focus on the vocabulary. The professor was thrown to the crocodiles. And G. A crowd of people gathered around the professor. And F. the Trinadon let the professor go. Okay. Do you remember? Trinadon is a dinosaur. I think probably feline dinosaur. I don't remember from previous, but Trinadon is, I think, feline dinosaur. Dinosaur, probably. Okay, so here, you were supposed to put them in order, and your time is up. Have your answers ready to check with the audio. So we're going to play the audio and listen to the audio. Let me just turn the speakers on and
input mode of audience frequency.
The words of the pyramids.
Unit 11.
No, sorry.
Narrow escapes.
Not 11. Okay, I'm afraid. Not 11. We are looking for 9. Is this the one? Let's try this, because probably U9 means Unit 9. Okay, listen, we are supposed to pay attention to the story and check our answers on the sentences that are supposed to be put in order.
Unit 9.
Okay, yes.
In the land of the pyramids. Exercise 2, page 40.
The pteranodon let go of James, but instead of falling through the air, he began to spin slowly, then quickly, as if he were being controlled by some supernatural force. Everything was black, but he didn't remember closing his eyes. Suddenly there were horns blowing and people cheering. He was sitting in the middle of a road, and an army of men riding horses were coming towards him. So he quickly got out of the way. As he was brushing the dust off his clothes, he saw that all the people around him were wearing strange robes with sandals on their feet. He looked around at the buildings and realized he was in ancient Egypt. The army passed, and Antony and Cleopatra, riding in chariots, were led up to the steps of the palace. When the professor heard Antony call Cleopatra the Queen of Kings, he knew that the year must be 34 BC. A crowd of people had gathered around James. They started touching the brown suit he was wearing, pointing at his shoes and looking at him in wonder. One man, who was short and fat with dark curly hair, asked him if he was a Roman. When he said no, the man asked him what he thought of Antony and Cleopatra's friendship.
Well, I happen to know that their relationship will end in disaster. Octavian will attack, Egypt will be defeated, and Antony and Cleopatra will commit suicide.
Traitor! Traitor!
The man shouted. Guards who had been standing nearby came and grabbed him. He tried to explain that he was only telling them what he knew about history, but no one was listening. They rushed him off to the royal palace to explain before the Roman general and the queen why he had spoken out against them. Cleopatra was sitting on her throne wearing a long golden dress, while Antony was sitting by her. He was wearing a silver and red Roman military uniform. James, who was being held by 2 guards, couldn't believe he was actually standing before Antony and Cleopatra. The fat, curly-haired man was there explaining what the professor had said, and Antony was listening patiently.
And why do you think such a disaster will come to Egypt?
Antony asked. He tried to explain that he had traveled back in time from the future, so he knew what would happen. But that only worked against him. Antony was sure the professor had lost his mind, and he asked Cleopatra what they should do with him.
Feed him to the crocodiles,
she said casually. And so it was done. professor was marched out to a place by the River Nile where crocodiles waited for enemies of the throne to be thrown into the water. Hundreds of people were standing behind him, screaming, "Traitor! Traitor! Traitor!" Antony and Cleopatra stood to the side of the crowd in a golden chariot. 2 guards held the professor by his arms. He begged them to spare his life. But as soon as Antony gave the signal, James was thrown into the water.
Okay, very interesting history. And so just to explain to you, Cleopatra was very charismatic and beautiful queen of Egypt. How about Antony? Actually, Marcus Antonius was a Roman general, and then later happened to be her husband. They married. Okay, and then before Antony, Caesar was her husband. So it was sort of alliance between Romans and Egyptians at the time. So the story is about ancient Egypt, and the question was to put the sentences here in the correct order or chronological order. Okay, now which one is the first? The first, A, the professor told Antony about traveling through time, or no, the professor saw Antony and Cleopatra riding in chariots, or C, the guards took the professor to the royal palace, and the professor, the last one, was thrown to crocodile, and a crowd of people gather around the professor. The next one, the Pteranodon let the professor go. Which one is the first? Okay, I'm going to give you the first. F is the first one, the Pteranodon, or Pteranodon let the professor go. Okay, and listen again one more time and complete this part. Not with me on your own. So you are supposed to listen to the audio again, to the tape, and pay attention to the words and sentences. Put the sentences here from A to F in the correct order. Just remember, important part of you're going to do is to understand the words, to work out the vocabulary and expressions and the prepositions. Okay, so listen again at your leisure and put these sentences in the correct order. This is part of the classwork, and I need to have your answer submitted to me. Okay, so today is 25th of November, and our class is for grade 7 in particular, and we started with Unit 9 today. The title of Unit 9 is In the Land of the Pyramids. It's about Egyptians, it's about ancient Egypt, and wonderful stories that happened in the past. Okay, so let's move on to the next page and exercise related to the part under the title of reading. Exercise number 3. Read the text, and for questions from 1 to 5, choose the best answer, A, B, C, or D. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the audio again for you. Instead of reading the text, you can have the reading on your own and answer the questions. Try to answer the questions which are here. So listen again one more time. I'm going to zoom it out so you can get a good look at the questions and the text at the same time. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Listen again. This story is about ancient Egypt, Marcus Antonius or Antony and Cleopatra and our professor. There you go. Professor James, I think. Here you go.
Unit 9. In the land of the pyramids. Exercise 2, page 40.
The pteranodon let go of James, but instead of falling through the air, he began to spin slowly, then quickly, as if he were being controlled by some supernatural force. Everything was black, but he didn't remember closing his eyes. Suddenly there were horns blowing and people cheering. He was sitting in the middle of a road and an army of men riding horses were coming towards him, so he quickly got out of the way. As he was brushing the dust off his clothes, he saw that all the people around him were wearing strange robes with sandals on their feet. He looked around at the buildings and realized he was in ancient Egypt. The army passed, and Antony and Cleopatra, riding in chariots, were led up to the steps of the palace. When the professor heard Antony call Cleopatra the Queen of Kings, he knew that the year must be 34 BC. A crowd of people had gathered around James. They started touching the brown suit he was wearing, pointing at his shoes and looking at him in wonder. One man, who was short and fat with dark curly hair, asked him if he was a Roman. When he said no, the man asked him what he thought of Antony and Cleopatra's friendship.
Well, I happen to know that their relationship will end in disaster. Octavian will attack, Egypt will be defeated, and Antony and Cleopatra will commit suicide.
Traitor! Traitor!
The man shouted. Guards who had been standing nearby came and grabbed him. He tried to explain that he was only telling them what he knew about history, but no one was listening. They rushed him off to the royal palace to explain before the Roman general and the queen why he had spoken out against them. Cleopatra was sitting on her throne wearing a long golden dress, while Antony was sitting by her. He was wearing a silver and red Roman military uniform. James, who was being held by two guards, couldn't believe he was actually standing before Antony and Cleopatra. The fat, curly-haired man was there explaining what the professor had said, and Antony was listening patiently.
And why do you think such a disaster will come to Egypt?
Antony asked. He tried to explain that he had traveled back in time from the future, so he knew what would happen. But that only worked against him. Antony was sure the professor had lost his mind, and he asked Cleopatra what they should do with him.
Feed him to the crocodiles,
she said casually. And so it was done. The professor was marched out to a place by the River Nile where crocodiles waited for enemies of the throne to be thrown into the water. Hundreds of people were standing behind him screaming,
Traitor! Traitor! Traitor!
Antony and Cleopatra stood to the side of the crowd in a golden chariot. Two guards held the professor by his arms. He begged them to spare his life.
No!
But as soon as Antony gave the signal, James was thrown into the water.
Okay, the story is finished, but our work is just started. Look at you. Exercise in this part is to find the correct option for these questions. Question number 1, A, B, C, D, and there's multi-choices questions. Look at number 1. Let's try some of them and the rest on your own. Number 1. What happened to James when the Pteranodon let him go? A. He traveled through time. B. He fell through air. And he started cheering. D. He landed on a horse. Or which one do you think is correct answer? A, B, C, or D? In order to find the correct answer, always target the incorrect one. That is the strategy, and you must stick to this strategy. So which one is easier to cross out? So he landed on a horse? No, of course. D is crossed out. We have options from 1A to C. Okay, and probably he started cheering. No, he didn't. So cross out C. You have two options, A and B, and you might be able to answer this question correctly by choosing A. He traveled through time. That's the thing. So okay, correct answer for this part is travel through time, A. Look at number B. Follow the strategy I said and answer the question. What did the Egyptians, why did the Egyptians look at James in wonder? Why? A. His clothes were old-fashioned. B. He looked like a Roman. Or C. He was sitting in the middle of a road. And D. He was very strange clothes. Which one do you think? A, B, C, or D? Well done. The correct answer is D. He was wearing strange clothes. Look at exercise 3 or question number 3. Why did the gods take James to the royal palace? A. He knew a lot about Egyptian history. B. Antony and Cleopatra wanted to meet him. C. He said bad things would happen to Antony and Cleopatra. Or D. He had told lies about Cleopatra. A, B, C, or D? Number C. Well done. He said bad things would happen to Antony and Cleopatra. Okay. Look at question number 4. Number 4. How did Antony react when the guards brought James in? A. He was patient. B. He was angry. C. He was pleased. And D. He was anxious. What is the correct answer? A, B, C, or D? He wasn't angry, he wasn't pleased, he wasn't anxious. He was patient. A. How about question number 5? Look at the question. Why was the professor taken to the river Nile? A. To see the crowd. B. To be sent away. C. To see the crocodiles. D. To be killed. A, B, C, or D? Well done. The correct answer is D. But we're not done yet. As I said, we've just started. Let's go to the next page. The next page, page number 42. And we're going to focus on comprehension and vocabulary practice. Okay, exercise number 4. Look at the words in bold in exercise number 3 and try to explain them. Then choose any 3 and make sentences. Okay, I'm afraid we can't do the second part. We're going to work out understanding the bold words. So go back to previous page, exercise number 3, and that's the time. We're going to focus on a bold word and phrases. Okay, Pteranodon. is a dinosaur, flying dinosaur. And what is the next one? The next one is spin. You need to get a very good dictionary, a handy dictionary, which is monolingual, English, and you are supposed to check the meaning of every word to understand and explain the meaning. To spin means to turn round quickly. Okay, what is the next one? Controlled by means to steer or having power or something. What is the horn? Horns are instruments to blow and play music, or very loud sound here. That is called air instrument. If you compare to string instrument. Cheering means to shout of support and happiness, cheering. What is the meaning of? So every single word must be explained in very simple English. The other one, we're trying to understand the words, and the important robe. Robe is a long and loose clothes. People usually wear in occasions, and it shows particularly ranking. For example, a cardinal robe or coronation robe. So particularly robes are connected to the ranking. What is the sandal? A light shoe that is open and usually you put on in the warm weather. And maybe a typical sandal has got straps made of leather that connects to the sole. But anyway, sandals are open shoe that is usually worn in the warm environment or weather. What is gather? To come together. What is touching? Coming to a light contact to something. It's touching. And wonder means surprise. Could be with a feeling of praise. What is the meaning of okay, defeat means to losing or losing battle. And okay, guys, easy. Traitor, to betray a friend or maybe a country. Traitor, a person who betray a friend or a country. Grab, to get a hold of something suddenly. And we have let's see if we got more here. Not throne, not general, and what else? Occasionally, she said casually. Casually, when it comes to clothes, means the clothes that you wear regularly without any plan. For example, I usually wear jeans and t-shirt when it's not cold or in the summer. So that is my casual clothes. But here she said casually means with no care or without a care and or attention. Without care or attention or thought. Without care and thought, saying something. Feeling impartial about something. Okay. March. What is march? The guard. March means to walk with a stiff, especially soldiers, with a stiff steps and regularly. And enemies, okay, and done and dusted. Okay, we completed this part. Remember, your job is to get a dictionary and log out and learn. Every single word should be explained in simple English words. Okay, go back to exercise number 5, which is the next. In exercise number 5, you are supposed to fill in the correct words from the list of words below and use the words only once. Our bank is supermarket, to ride, to end, to commit, to rush, military, royal, to give, lost, and to spare. And you can see expressions from number 1 to number 10. Take about a minute and prepare yourself with a possible choice from the list of words or from the word bank. 1 minute. Your time is starting right now. Today is 25th of November and your students at grade 7. With me here, Daniel, we're practicing our program, an online or virtual program from the school. And we just started Unit 9. Today, on the second page or third page of the unit, let's see. Third page, yes, exercise number 4. You're supposed to fill in the words from the bank and complete expressions from number 1 to number 10. Okay, exercise is about forming expressions out of the words. Number 1, the signal. What is the correct word for signal? To give. Well done. Let's go to number 6. He lost his mind. Okay. And go for number 4. What's a blank uniform? A military uniform. How about number 2? Suicide. But what? Supernatural? No. Okay, to commit suicide. How about number 3? In disaster. To spare, to ride, to end. To end is past tense. To end in disaster. And okay, we completed 4. A military uniform. How about number 5? A supernatural force. Number 6, we completed. He lost his mind. Number 7, ride. To ride in chariots. Number 8, to rush somebody off. To rush somebody off means to move somebody quickly. And number 9, the royal palace or royal palace. And number 10, to spare his life means to save his life. Okay, let's move to exercise number 6. And again, in exercise number 6, you are supposed to underline the correct word. And the title is words often confused. Number 1, number 2, 3, and number 6. Take about 30 seconds. I need to check the time, and I'm afraid I want to keep the time for the class as short as possible to prevent being lame and make you tired. So let me just check the time. I'm afraid we are getting to the margin of 40 minutes, so I want you work out this part. I'm going to help you with one or two of them. She couldn't realize or understand why Jessie was angry with her. The correct what is the difference between realize and understand? Understand is connected to comprehension, but realize is not connected with comprehension, but is connected to the awareness. Okay, so she couldn't understand why Jessie was, so means there's something deep inside the situation to figure out. That is understanding. So number one is understand. Number two, okay, look at number two. Be careful not to fall his vase or not to drop his vase. When it's about dropping something off hands, use drop. So this drop when it's related to hand. How about number three? I can't hear, no, easy for you. Number four, he dropped or fell. Easy for you, I explain. Number five, stop, easy for you. Number six, I didn't understand or realize how late it was. So realize means being aware of something. So I didn't realize how late it was. It's about situation, not about understanding situation. So first, number one is understand. Number five, totally different, realize. Remember, understand is for comprehension, to figure out deep inside of something, to bring reasons, and realize just connected to be aware about something, to be aware or connected to the awareness. Okay, exercise number 7. I want to see if we can exercise number 7. Okay, no, that's enough. Okay, so I'll just check the time. That's enough for you today. Today we started unit 9. Is about ancient Egypt. It was about history. Cleopatra is about Marcus Antonius. Is about it was about the happen and our story with the Professor James, and we try to understand the words here. We're trying to explain the words here, and we're trying to complete expressions. Okay, thank you for joining me today, and let's meet up another time. Have a wonderful time and stay out of harm's way.